What is going on today, guys? Welcome back. So today we are finally going to unload the big red truck from the trailer. Got home yesterday. I figured today we are going to spend a little bit of time diving into this thing and showing you guys everything that is wrong and or needs to be fixed on this thing. So it's pretty easy to see some of this stuff while it's still on the trailer, and then we'll go ahead and get it off the trailer and kind of look under the hood and look in the interior. By no means is this a jab or me tearing apart somebody else's truck. In fact, obviously, if I thought the thing was a total piece of junk, we would have never bought it. So take that with a grain of salt. We're just gonna be kind of focusing a little bit today on the improvements that we're gonna do, and maybe a little bit of the negative. But by no means is the negative not something that we can't overcome, fix, and make this thing back into something that is awesome, reliable, and that's the overall goal. I hope that in showing you guys some of this stuff, you guys will be able to apply that to one, either a truck that you have or you're fixing up, or maybe something in the future that you're gonna go look at that may be a little bit more of a project and some things to kind of look out for. So that's really the overall goal. So anyway, let's drive into this thing. I mean, obviously, first off, the sticker selection on this thing happens to be slightly questionable. So that's first off. But things that we can see underneath the truck right now is kind of like the suspension drivetrain. So we're going to dive into a little bit of that. Now, this thing does have an 8-inch BDS long arm kit on it. Now, the back. And every time I look at this thing, I kind of seem to kind of find a couple more things here or there. So the back is just these really big blocks, which sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But it seems like, and I don't know this for sure, especially when I had it strapped, it seemed like, focus, come on. Okay, we're running. It looked like the pinion angle was slightly questionable, and I'm not sure if that's going to be caused by the blocks or not. In the back here, it looks like it's up so high that this brake line right here, the one that goes from this little block all the way up to the frame, is just about maxed out. If this thing actually was capable of any type of suspension travel downward, it would almost probably tweak or break that brake line that goes to the axle. So that's something that this lift inherently, and again, I'm not sure if this was pieces. This is, again, definitely not a BDS jab, more or less like when it was put together, things that if you're gonna lift it this high, you can't just put some coil, some shocks, and you know, some of these things need to be taken care of with the same time. So if you're gonna lift it, make sure you guys check out your brake lines, your hoses, all of that stuff that needs to get extended. So other than that, back here doesn't look too terribly bad. Overall, underneath the truck is fairly clean. There's no rust on this thing. Obviously, when they painted it, they kind of took care of any and all of that. Right here is the 8-inch BDS bracket, which actually ties into, it is I would say maybe decently welded right here, but that's pretty much it. Other than that, it ties into the cross member. When I started looking at this just the other minute here, you can actually see that the transmission cross member is actually slanted, and it's actually in backwards. It's actually slanted to the front instead of being slanted towards the back. So whenever the transmission, and it looks like that mount, the mount is questionable back there. So the transmission crossmember is one in backwards, which we're gonna have to pull the transmission out of this thing. That's another one of the big things on this truck. The reason why it does not drive right now is because the valve body is out of it. So we need to go ahead, and that's, I mean, this is exactly how we picked the truck up. The pan is not really attached. Hopefully all the bolt holes are good. I actually, right here, this is just from driving. We probably should have maybe tightened those up, but the pan is definitely down. We do have a core valve body, so again, this is going to definitely need the attention of our man, Mr. Muldoon. I am definitely not going to run, drive, whatever the end goal is for this truck without it being 100%. This truck will not do or go anywhere or do anything until I have personally driven it for a while and make sure that all the bugs are worked out. Now, on top of that, and you'll see some of this in the interior, the halfway done second gen swap, the hood stack that's on this thing, they didn't really take care of the PCM that was on the firewall, and you guys will see that. So it melted a couple wires, and of course after that happened, the thing wouldn't shift correctly. So I'm not sure if their solution was they were going to do a full manual valve body in it. I would like to actually fix the truck and get it to shift correctly. I'm sure that it is probably going to be a wiring problem in some of that little area that it got too hot. Now, you can see that it does have the typical SEMA Bluetooth drive shaft mod, which the drive shaft was just not put back in it, I don't think. But luckily, again, we have the parts. The drive shaft is in the truck. Obviously, seeing that this truck is four-wheel drive, it will be getting a front drive shaft put back in it. We'll have to go through all the fluids. I mean, this is like a basic, we're gonna have to go through everything to make sure that it is good. But other than that, you know, you guys can see stuff in here. The wheel well liners aren't in, but we'll be able to see that when the truck comes off of the trailer. So as of there, and I'm looking underneath here, and then of course you guys can see the front suspension real easily from here. You guys knew yesterday the track bar basically fell out, so a lot of nuts and bolts I don't think were ever tight on this thing, and to think this thing actually drove on the street even just a little bit with the way that it is like this, I am completely shocked that it is actually still in one piece. Let's actually flip around to the other side because I want to show you guys something else. So coming over here, this actually does, you can kind of tell the steering is actually new, and I believe it is like a Synergy front steering kit, which looks fairly nice, but I'm like, why is this like, that's not right? Like maybe it's supposed to be like this. And then I look up here and you can see right here, it's not even tight. Like the jam nut's not tight. So I do believe that our steering stuff is good. It just actually needs to be tight and get in alignment. Obviously, using a stock track bar with a truck that has 200,000 miles on it is a terrible idea. These things wear out like all the time. Number big cause of death wobble, all of that stuff. Obviously with these big super singles, like the steering is very important on this truck. And two more things on the front steering here. Number one, there's no steering stabilizer at all on this truck right now. So it's supposed to be right here. There's literally nothing. And with a lift this big and tires this meaty, you guys can see what's supposed to be bolted right in this area, and up here there's actually no front sway bar on this truck right now, which makes me very, like, I don't think I'd want to drive a truck in this condition, this setup, without a front sway bar. So again, we'll have to reach out to the guys over at Thurin and probably take care of a lot of this stuff. As you guys can see, front coils, and I think it's like another 2-inch spacer on top of that, but that's all 100% going to be coming out, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to keep it in this way, shape, or form. Now, if you guys want to fully understand a little bit of my motive behind the way we're going to change this thing up, stay tuned to the end of the video. I think it will make a little bit more sense. I know a lot of you guys were like, pull truck, mud truck, all of that stuff. We'll get into that maybe a little bit at the end of the video. Right now, we're just gonna kind of keep rolling on what all needs to be corrected and changed. So if that wasn't enough, I think that's enough for underneath of the truck. And we're gonna go ahead and get this thing off the trailer so we can pop the hood, show you guys underneath, and show you guys the interior. One last pause, hopefully. A couple other things that I noticed. Well, when you're doing a big lift, obviously, just like the brake lines, the e-brake cables, which run right up here, looks like one was too short because of the big block. Well, guess what you do? You just cut them, right? I guess that's how they solved that problem. And then also the front brake lines, these are supposed to go right here, but if you do that, then that's too short. Oops, I just bumped the camera. But so what they did is they just left that loose. That way you could actually make those reach and still turn the truck. And obviously this is like that because they put the bar in before. This is supposed to be on the underside of this, I believe. You know, kind of like that. So they put the bar in, this wasn't over here, so they just kind of let that. I keep bumping the camera, I apologize. But anyway, so we got that to consider as well. So let's let this beast out. Again, guys, like I said, you're probably like one thing after another, but all stuff with love and TLC, we can fix. We can fix it, don't worry. She's not completely gone. I wasn't too worried about it. I knew she'd stop eventually. So that's where she stopped. That's where she rolled. At least we know none of the calipers are completely locked up. So yeah, let's dive into the engine and the interior and just kind of keep walking around this thing. Here we go on the second half of the interior and the engine bay and everything else that is going on with Big Red here. So inside this box right here, that is the core valve body. Whether or not we can reuse that, rebuild that, or it is just a core, hopefully all of the parts and pieces are there to get a good valve body in this thing. Now, going along with the transmission, I'll show you guys kind of what I think happened over here. As you guys can see, the I would call this the most budget-friendly second-gen swap that I'd never recommend you ever doing is a factory second-gen 24-valve manifold. I say that because these things are prone to cracking very, very easily. They're not really an upgrade whatsoever. They are very choked down. If you're gonna do it, just do it right, do it correctly. These things are a dime a dozen. They're very cheap. Some people may argue that they've had them on there and they never have any issues, which is fine, but there's a reason why there's upgraded aftermarket pieces. So this is actually I believe it's an HX40 turbo. I think it's still good. It still spins free. Again, we'll probably either get rid of that, sell that. Not really sure what to do about that. Obviously not going to be staying. The air conditioning has been deleted, which we will definitely want to put air conditioning back in this. But anyway, on to the transmission and the valve body. Over here you can see some electrical wiring a little bit. So that box is normally mounted right back there. But again, it probably got a little too close to the hood stack stuff, and some wires are questionable right there. And I believe that does control some of the transmission shifting. So that might be our problem right back there. So we'll have to dive into that. We'll probably have to get some wiring pulled out, some ohms, and just kind of figure out exactly what's going on with that. But anyway, inside the engine bay, you can see things are just a little all over the place. The battery boxes are missing. We are definitely going to put the batteries back up inside the engine bay. They are in the back of the truck. We'll show you guys that. And then some of all of the, well, I just said, and some on all of the wiring. So the wiring over here is kind of some battery cables. They kind of go from the alternator over here. There is like a ground right here, but the wiring definitely needs to be corrected. I would like to put back factory crossover cables, the correct alternator wiring that goes to the second battery over here, put 2 batteries back in this thing along with a nice second gen swap. So we'll get that taken care of. Other than that, and you guys can see over here, the reason with deleting this battery box over here is, you know, your ABS and your fuse box over here, they're honestly kind of just dangling, zip tied up. That all needs to be corrected. But overall, all of the wiring looks like it's good. It's all there. If I hooked up a jumper box or hooked up a battery to, I mean, the battery's in the back right now. He did say it would fire up, so we might end up trying to basically fire this thing up before we go ahead any further in fixing this thing, just to kind of verify engine sounds good, everything looks good. But I do want to go ahead and pop the valve cover off, at least check the valve lash. I mean, I'm not going to assume. The worst thing you can do is assume, probably in any life situation, but we are definitely not going to assume anything on this thing. I did check the oil. It does at least have oil in it. So we'll probably go ahead and fire it up, make sure it doesn't sound like a rod's about to come through. But other than that, I don't see anything jumping out at me underneath the hood as far as anything else. So the wheel well liners we have, they're sitting over here. We will need to find, like I said, if you guys have any of this stuff, as we're going along through this, like the front sway bar, that's like an OEM piece that I'm gonna have to try and track down. We do have the front drive shaft. If you guys, like in a race truck application, I know a lot of you guys delete that stuff. For a race truck, it makes perfect sense, but if you guys have both, I think it's a 03 to 09 battery boxes, any of the factory battery cables, which honestly, it kills me. It kills me because we have stuff laying around here all the time, and I try and do my best to clean it up and not keep things that we don't need. But that 03 truck that we literally just parted out, we literally threw out stuff that I now need. So that further drives home my point of being a pack rat and hoarding sometimes does pay off. So unfortunately, some of the stuff that we needed, I ended up literally just tossing because we were kind of done with all of that stuff. So what are you gonna do? If you guys can help a brother out, that would be greatly appreciated. Let's jump into the back over here. Hop up on this big thing. So the paint, as I'm walking around this thing, there is one, like, you guys are like adding up all, oh look, the back window's been open. Huh. Okay, well, we're definitely gonna have to shut that. But anyway, inside here you can kind of see some of the goodness that was done back here. So that is where the battery is. That is how the battery is secured, or lack thereof secured. So the battery cables are just kind of run right there. That's how the battery is being held in. That battery box, which I thought we were going to be able to use, which has the holder for the ABS, is actually cracked, which means we can't use that. We've got our trusty front drive shaft that I'm gonna have to make sure all of the U-joints are good in. We do have a piece of exhaust, so we can put a normal exhaust back on it. As you can see, we have a hood stack, which honestly, I think of all of the details, I really just want to put a normal hood on this, but because this was such a custom paint job, and it's like a really transparent, like super nicely done paint job, trying to match that might be a little bit of a challenge. But good thing we have good buddy Mark. So I'm not sure what we're gonna do there again. And again, as far as this thing, like, am I gonna focus on this thing right away and like literally not do anything but work on this? No, definitely not. We have plenty of other stuff back here that we are gonna be focusing on and making sure that we are making progress on. This is going to be, let's gather some parts, let's knock it out little by little, and it's not gonna be the forefront of anything. So with a spray in or drop in bed liner, this thing will look like $1 million. Obviously there's some holes up in here, like, come on. But anyway, we'll put some bed liner in here. This thing will come back to life. It'll be perfect. The bed actually looks like it's in pretty good condition. We'll probably go ahead and put a gooseneck hitch in it because towing trailers is important to a lot of you guys. And interior, really not all that bad. Everything is there. Again, I don't know window motors, locks, all that stuff as far as operational stuff goes, but all of the seat, I mean, this seat is out of it for some odd reason, but it is a dark leather, carpet looks good. The front seat has a little bit of some tearing. I'm not sure if it can be repaired, or we'll just go ahead and change both front ones out to just something black. Again, if you guys know anybody or can help with that, we'll get a new seat cushion. And the radio is out of this thing, so we'll have to get a radio. And yeah, so it seems like a lot. It is a lot. That's why a lot of people cannot ever finish a project. They get kind of overwhelmed with all of the little odds and ends, and my best advice for that is just keep picking away little by little. at it. So again, guys, you're probably, oh, it's getting dark. It's a good thing we got this knocked out. It's supposed to rain here. But, you know, when I'm buying things, I think this is a real important lesson for some of you guys, and maybe it's common sense to you guys, but if you total up just the parts that are on this truck, does it make sense for me to buy? If something's really, really high with this much work, has the potential to still run, like, you need to make sure that you're covered. If something went terribly wrong and this is just too much and it's not going to be worth it at the end, I am still right side up in this truck the way that we purchased it. And I would never ever be backwards with something that needs this much work. So keep that in mind. I forgot to mention there's no lift pump on this truck, but we do have an air dog. That was good. We might send that back, get that tested, make sure that is in good operating condition. We will be rerunning all of the fuel lines, all of the transmission lines. This is the full manual valve body shifter mount that is definitely not going to stay in the truck. Makes it a little bit difficult to reach around and put it in four-wheel drive. Not that it really matters because there's no front drive shaft in it, but boys, that is it. I think we pretty much well covered everything that's going on with this truck, and that's not even I mean, stuff that will maybe pop up between now and when we take this thing on its first test drive. But anyway, guys, so let's dive into, like, you guys keep saying, I read some comments about making it into something that we already have. I mentioned that my 08 is probably the most versatile, capable, well, besides the dually, but capable truck that is the do-all, you can do it all, is the most practical vehicle. Now, will this truck stay forever? The answer is probably no. We can enjoy it for a short amount of time after it is completely solid, and it is certainly going to get fixed up and stay on here for the length of however long that takes. But after that, will it stay around? I'm telling you guys this up front. I'm being completely honest. You know, there probably is an alternative motive for me buying this truck, whether that is to sell at the end, possibly have one of you guys in it at the end. I'm being slightly vague there on purpose, but I want to do something cool with this truck at the end. I feel like this really will give us a chance to wrench away on it, make it our own, make it perfect, put our touch on it, and then have one of you guys enjoy it and be able to use it in a very practical, enjoyable way. And that is why, if the lift won't stay, if the wheels and tires won't stay, if we put this thing back to a hop in it, drive across the country and tow a trailer kind of feel. Again, things change on here quite often. I just want to be upfront and honest with you guys. I'm not trying to, like, say, hey, we're gonna go get this truck and get attached to it and all this other stuff. I'm rambling and getting into detail here, but I'm just trying to be open and honest with you guys. But I'm certainly, like, this just goes back to me. Like, this is me, guys. Like, I look at this and I see nothing but potential and the sweet truck that it will become. Maybe that is a fault, but I love working on it. I love the build process. I love this first video to however long it takes us to the end video of, guys, like, look at what we turned it into. And by that, I mean, it's not a bad looking truck the way it is right now. Like, it's tough. Like, this big lift and these wheels and tires, like, they're not everybody's cup of tea, but it's tough. Like, this red color is nice. But anyway, guys, I've drugged this on long enough, not by purpose, but just kind of enjoying going through the truck and talking with you guys. So hopefully that all makes sense. It explained a lot of things. We showed you guys exactly where the truck is at right now. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a journey, but that's part of the fun. That's part of the adventure. So that's it, guys. Stay tuned for the next upcoming videos. We will be back working on the projects that we have been slightly neglecting, mainly the Peterbilt. We should have a huge day on the Peterbilt for the next video, so make sure you guys stay tuned for the next video on the Peterbilt. We probably need to do a garage update. Like, probably need to pull everything out of everywhere, kind of go through all the vehicles. I know you guys tend to get lost a little bit in all of that. But love you guys. Hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe if you have not already. I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.